I'm Lauren Todorovich, and today I'm joined by Geoff Grady, the CEO of Aveo Group. And today we are talking all things retirement villages, as it has been in the media of recent times. Thank you for joining us today, Geoff.
It's a pleasure, Lauren.
Choice, control and consumer engagement are ultimately what will drive improvements within the sector and create change within the industry. This forms the basis to ACRC's Responsible Care initiative. Aveo recently came under fire in the media, and I'm sure consumers, and in particular ACRC's community, would really like to understand Aveo's position here and any actions you have taken as a result.
So, Lauren, it's probably best to understand where Aveo is coming from, from the very beginning. About 4 years ago, what we did was decide that our old integrated property company was going to concentrate entirely on retirement living. And that was a huge change. No one in this country, certainly not in the ASX 200, has even embarked on an exercise like that. And from the very beginning, what we were guided by was what consumers wanted. And the short version of that is really to say, we saw what they were after was more consistent and comprehensive levels of care delivered across our villages as best we could. And we had a commitment to improving our product in a way that we thought consumers wanted. New and better contracts, better promises about what happened on the way in, buying on the way in, exiting on the way out. So we invented whole new contracts. We have promises about or guaranteed buybacks in there. So we've embarked on a range of different initiatives that are industry leading in this country, and we think really address consumers' needs really well. So we've been about this exercise now for 4 years in response to some of the issues that were raised on the program. We've gone back, we've had a look at our complaints handling procedure, we've looked at our serious incident reporting. We think it's pretty robust at the moment, but we're not in a position where we say we're perfect. We're certainly not that. We can improve things all the time. And so one of the initiatives that we've landed on, for example, is that we will incorporate an independent review of any complaint which we think hasn't or can't be settled by management. So, we have a procedure where it's escalated through various layers of management, but if for whatever reason we can't solve that, why not bring someone independent? Why put the consumer through the need to go to some kind of consumer tribunal? Why don't we have a more relaxed procedure where we can involve someone independent and see if we can get to the bottom? So we're trying to improve at all times, the way we interact with our consumers.
Geoff, can you please share with us, what are some of the important things for consumers to know about retirement villages? I guess we hear a lot of horror stories and things that have come out in the media, but what are some important things for people to know and the benefits retirement villages provide seniors?
Sure. So the way it works is that people typically sell their suburban home. They will want to invest a certain amount in their retirement unit, but they also want to keep aside enough cash to see them through for the next, say, 9 or 10 years before their care needs increase and they need to devote more money across to their care costs. So what the deferred management fee model enables us to do is to not charge the full value of the retirement unit that they come to up front. It's essentially a part payment system. They pay about 3/4 of that typically. They set aside a quarter of what they've realised out of the equity in their home. They live on those cash proceeds, and then at the end of their period of stay, they're effectively paying the second instalment for that. So where we're headed with our product is, that if you like describes the basic model. Where we're headed though, at its optimum, is the kind of product that we're currently delivering at Newstead in Brisbane. So what we're trying to do is invent villages where people can come in their mid to late 70s when they're fully able, and as their care needs increase, we will have in the one facility the ability to be able to deliver that care to them, firstly in the unit that they've chosen to live in, and then if their care needs increase so that they simply can't be delivered appropriately in that unit, then they can shift into an aged care facility, which is incorporated into that village, or into assisted living of some sort. But at all times, and this is really critical, at all times, and particularly at the time where they most need the support of that community around them, they're staying in that community. They physically don't have to shift to a whole nother community.
What can Aveo and other retirement village operators similar to Aveo do to collectively put the consumer first? And what is the government's role? Should they actually pay more of an active participation, or should this be something that individual operators should manage?
So I think the two very simple things that government could do is, let's think about it from a consumer perspective and from an operator perspective. From a consumer perspective, I think the best thing they can do is encourage confidence in the sector. One of the things that's been talked about recently is the need for simplified contracts. We would support that. Anything that holds out a consumer coming to us because they're confused by a contract, they don't understand it, they think there's maybe something difficult about it, we don't want that. We want people to believe that they can invest in a retirement village, in aged care for that matter, and have all of those thresholds to entry as simple as they can be. So I think if government proposes and keeps in place good consumer protections around people coming into our villages, I think that serves everybody's interest really well. And then I think the government role in terms of the operators is to enable them to make good returns out of the sector in a way that encourages investment and the creation of more and better villages that serves the emerging market. Not many people understand that in this country at the moment, the need for retirement villages alone will grow by about 250% over the next 30 years. And in this country, we're simply not building product fast enough. At Aveo, we're putting on the ground this year 500 new product. No one else is doing that. And we've got a commitment to be doing over 500 units each and every year going forward. But even that will only keep us at about our current market share of about 10%. There's a huge amount of investment required to meet the real needs of consumers in this sector.
So I mentioned earlier the recent complaints in the media. What percentage of your residents does this represent? And have you gone out there since it's been in the media over the last few weeks to actually speak with your residents? What's their consensus?
So I think the way to best understand this is we have 13,000 residents in our villages. Every day, 13,000 residents wake up in an Aveo village. Their average age of about 82 at the moment. So like any community anywhere, no one's perfectly happy, or not everyone is perfectly happy in those communities all the time. So our job as a responsible operator is to look after the needs of those people who've had an expectation gap, who have a sense that what they wanted out of the retirement village is not what we're delivering. And so we need to be able to sit down and talk to them, both as grown adults, about what it is that they perceive as lacking, what we haven't been doing, and address that. And so we need to have a good and robust and complaints procedure, and one that frankly has independent input from time to time, just to make sure that we're not missing anything in terms of consumer expectations.
Okay, so no organisation's perfect. We all face our own challenges, and Aveo has been in the media, as I've mentioned. What have you learned from this, and how do you anticipate to grow as a company, always looking at putting the consumer first? Can you share some insights for us, Geoff?
So I think the best way to think about this is all of the stakeholder groups who help our business thrive day to day. So our staff have been absolutely remarkable, and I think that's because they understand that we're doing good and innovative things in the sector. They've been remarkably supportive about where the company's going during this whole period. Our residents have been absolutely extraordinary. We've seen so many good comments come onto our social media, our Facebook page, for example. We've been running advertisements that enable the residents to talk direct to other prospective residents about their great experiences in the village. Because the majority, well into the 90%, register really favourable comments on our annual resident survey. So we know most of the time we're doing the right thing by those people. Are we doing it perfectly every time? No, but we can improve on that process. Our investors have been supportive, our analysts have been supportive, but I think the big lesson for us to learn is whether it's explaining our business model, explaining what we're about, explaining that retirement villages aren't necessarily the same as aged care, explaining that we're trying to put new and interesting villages on the ground that address people's needs. It's that explanation and education exercise that is the biggest learning for us. We need to do better at that, both within Aveo and as an industry.
Thank you for your time today, Geoff.
Thanks, Lauren.
At the end of the day, ACRC is consistently working to bring the industry together whilst always putting the consumer first. Responsible care is not about necessarily being perfect, but it's about striving to be better for the benefit of our seniors and our elders. Thank you very much. I'm Lauren Todorovich for Hello Care.